Welcome, everyone.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris.
I'm Chris Dronin. I'm the president of KFAI. I'd like to welcome you here to our annual member meeting. It's been a big year of a number of changes, and we'll be going over some of those. At this point, though, I'd like to have the newly elected members of the board stand up so we can recognize you. And how about the existing board members, if you'd stand for recognition too. Okay, at this time I would like to introduce Willie Dean, Dr. Willie Dean, and he's going to give us a presentation accompanied by some slides.
Thank you, Chris. It has been an honor to have been selected as Executive Director for KFAI. I started August 1st of this year. And I know that many of you have been involved with KFAI for many years. We celebrate our 35th birthday this past September. But I will wager you that everyone in this room has had experience with KFAI since age 6. Think about it. How many of you love the music that you've heard on KFAI for at least 10 years? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you love the talk radio or public affairs for at least 5 years? Raise your hand. Okay, most of the room here. You've enjoyed the news for the last 2 to 3 years. Okay, for those of you remaining, raise your hand if by age 6 you could spell KFAI. Oh, see, everyone has had experience with KFAI since early on. As you know, our station started back in the 70s. Jeremy and others were around at that time. Some of them have laughingly said that they were anarchists. They were people who were against the man, if you will, who went a different path, who wanted an independent radio station in our community that met the needs of the broad community. And I think you would agree that we're doing that now. We have some 13 languages spoken on the station. Oh, by the way, these are slides from the recent fall pledge drive. We have some 13 languages spoken, some almost 19 different programs, and music genres that span a wide spectrum: blues, rhythm and blues, Caribbean, Latin, just the entire spectrum, if you would. So there's a lot to do at KFAI. The web exclusives programs are growing strong. There's a lot of competition when we do have vacancies for the various programs. People apply, submit an abstract, and look for the opportunity to be on the air. And there's a real love of radio that is really revitalizing. You know, I came from the YMCA after 35 years in nonprofit, but I've never seen the commitment of volunteers and staff like at KFAI. Do you know that all of our on-air hosts are volunteers? The station operates 24/7, 365 days a year because of the commitment of volunteers. We have some 513 volunteers that assist from on-air duties to helping out answering the telephone, helping during pledge drives, etc. I am pleased to report that we had 3 successful pledge drives this year. The spring campaign was very successful, followed up by the September 18th one-day birthday drive, and most recently, our fall pledge drive. You know, I thought that one-day drive was interesting, but you never get the flair until you see people for 10 or 12 days in a row. People like J. Otis Powell, who essentially camped out at the station. You would see people like Liz, the night owl, It was there, day and night also. Frankly, the night hawk. Not our hawk. And then we have people like Charles, who have been around the station for many, many years. He and Burl, who have a fantastic program on our station. I'm told that KFAI and the format that we use is perhaps unique in public radio around the nation, that there are few other stations that have the variety, that have the eclectic nature that our station has. And that wouldn't happen without the commitment of volunteers, those who serve on the board, and those who volunteer in other capacities, who augment the work of our 6 staff members. I'd like to ask my colleagues, my staff colleagues, to stand at this time, so we can recognize you. Miguel Vargas, our program director. Just stand here so I can. And Dale Conley, our news director. And I believe Pam Hill-Croyer is still outside in the lobby, and along with Debbie G. Jackson at the moment.
Over there.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Thank you. Jackson Huff, our underwriting and marketing director. Okay. Okay, we do hope that you enjoy the evening. There is a photo book that's available that will be at the station, so please stop by and see. There's some 400 photos that are in the photo book, and we welcome you to take a look at it. Okay. And now I'll ask Jeremy Nichols to come forward for the financial review.
I'm not going to run long because I have it written down. Okay, financial review. I'm not going to read a bunch of numbers because people really need to wait for the audited financial report in May. The interim monthly financial. Oh, obviously. The interim financial reports, the drafts are posted monthly on our website if you like to look at numbers. But I will give the report on our. Okay, if people are having trouble hearing. We have a new committee structure at KFAI, and the Internal Affairs Committee absorbed the Finance Committee, and we deal with more than just finance now. We deal with personnel and all sorts of internal operations when it's of interest to the board. And members are me, Jeremy Nichols, I'm the treasurer. Susan Barrett is right here. Willie Dean. And earlier this year, Suzanne Eisenberg Murray was on as our interim director, during her tenure as interim executive director. What we did this year, we conducted reviews of financial reports each month. We worked with staff and board on transitions in both the ED position and our bookkeeper position. We prepared a revised budget early in the year to take into account the expenses of the transition that we made that weren't originally budgeted for. Due to the transition, the 2012 audit was challenging. It took a long, long time, and we just came in under the wire on the final deadline on our IRS 990, for example. But the audit was clean. So, despite the amount of work due to the transition and trying to assemble the records, they were all there, and we have, as we always have, a clean bill of health on our 2012 audit. We put the audit out for bid, so we'll have a new auditor in 2013. The audit will happen in early 2014. We also prepared and presented a work plan to the board and to encompass all the additional duties of internal affairs. And we're currently underway working on a budget. Willie will present it to us, and we'll meet next week on that. And we're we're in final review of a new financial procedures manual. So we've been busy. This is a turnaround year for KFAI. We regard it as a turnaround year. Individual giving is close to plan, as Willie suggested. We achieved and beat our goals on our pledge drives this year. We still have work to do. Our underwriting was not up to plan this year. We used a substantial portion of our cash reserve and all of our advised fund from the Minneapolis Foundation. And we'll most likely end the year with a loss, which is actually pretty rare for Fresh Air Incorporated. But as I said, this is a turnaround year. We were fortunate enough to have been bequeathed approximately $55,000. Yes! By the Robert L. Scheisel Trust. This could not have come at a better time. Okay, and I have to announce too that I'm leaving the board on December 16th after 40 years.
Oh, Jeremy.
I have a couple of things to say about that, because I had time on the agenda, and that's only another couple hundred words, so 2 minutes. I joined the organization 40 years ago in 1973. It was an organization that promised to bring big change to the airwaves in the Twin Cities, in my hometown of Minneapolis. I brought radio and engineering experience and training from the university, and an idealism about social justice that I had gotten from my association with the Twin Cities food co-op movement that was really active at the time. We were struggling with legal opposition by another large broadcaster, and we needed technical help, and I could give that. So combining technical and idealism, it was perfect. And after persevering 4 years, and Charles was on that board too, Charles Brin, that so we know what we speak in this battle of 4 years. We finally got a radio station put on, and the actual day that we signed on, the actual birthday was May Day of 1978. It seems like forever now, and it's not a forever job. Each year I've worked to make a difference, to further the dream of community-owned and operated radio. And I've been proud every year I've been proud of KFAI and its community. And I just have to step back now and make room for other people with energy and the idealism that it really is the hallmark of KFAI. I've been to over 200 board and staff, I've worked with over 200 board and staff members. I've attended around 500 board meetings. I climbed on the roof of the Fauché Tower, the IBS Center. I repaired the transmitter on my dining room table. I've substituted for music hosts. I've answered phone. I've done just about every job except have a permanent radio show here. And I've loved every minute of it. And but most of all, it's all been about you guys, the people of KFAI. It would not be anything without the powerful personalities, the powerful skills and talents, the great friendships, the ability that everyone has to work together to make this a vibrant and irreplaceable organization. I'm honored to have been here. Thank you, everyone.
Jeremy, as a way of thanks, we want to present you with this plaque.
Picture.
And there are so many former board members in the room taking pictures, and it's just so fun to be here because so many people have done this job and made this place what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon?
Hi, I'm Shannon.
I have been on the board 2 years. I'm the current second vice president. I chair the nominations committee. That's right. And so today I'm trying to get a bylaw passed. Jeremy will be happy to know that there are 50 eligible voters here, and that's exactly what I need to get this bylaw passed. So I really hope I'm totally convincing that all of you are just, totally wowed and love it. So we need this, or it'd be great. So currently our bylaw states, sorry, I'm going to read it, we don't have any slide. Members eligible to vote shall be identified no more than 60 days prior to the annual meeting date, which is today. The annual meeting is typically the first week in December, and will be notified of nominations for elections at least 30 days before the annual meeting. So if you're eligible to vote, you'd be notified at least 30 days before today of the elections, and that the eligible voters would be identified at least 60 days prior to today. So the issue that the governance committee has with this is that it really doesn't allow any time for onboarding of new board members. Part of the governance committee is to ensure the health of the board, and we're really interested in getting our new board members up and running. And part of it might be attending the October, November, even January meeting before they become real board members. It's just so important to make sure that they're up to speed and they understand, for one, all the different committees that can be a part of, but two, where we are and what they're going to be able to contribute. So again, as the bylaw states right now, the eligible members would be notified at least 60 days prior to today. And the difficulty is that because it's always in September, the new term starts in January. So it's just less than 1 month time. And again, that the notification for elections would be 30 days before today. Okay, so I'm proposing this change. I would like members eligible to vote shall be identified no more than 60 days prior to the close of voting. So I am trying to make it so that it is not, our elections is not coupled with our annual meeting. Okay, so members eligible to vote shall be identified no more than 60 days prior to close of voting and be notified of the nominations for election by at least 14 days prior to the close of voting. So you'll know at least 60 days before the close of voting, and you'll have at least 14 days to vote. Does everyone understand? Okay. So this is the big moment, and we have a quorum. So I'm really hoping all of you, for one, trust me, and two, believe that the onboarding process and education of our board members is important. So by a show of hands, how many of you would vote yes for this bylaw change? Do we want to count? Okay. All right, can we just maybe count them off? So maybe you can start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we'll have to try again some other time. Please keep this in mind for the future. We're definitely going to try again. If you didn't notice, it was actually in the Survey Monkey that was sent out for this year's elections. So maybe it wasn't very clear, but...
Shannon, can you explain it again? Because I don't think it was clear.
Okay, that's fair.
Maybe just...
Yep, so right now the election is coupled with the annual meeting. The annual meeting is in December, which makes it really difficult to onboard the new board members since their first term starts in January. So what I want to do is to separate them, sorry, it's in December, but I want to separate them because it doesn't give any time to allow the new board members to attend any board meetings if they aren't already a member. And it doesn't really give a lot of time for training or orientation. So instead of it being tied to this annual meeting, I'm suggesting that the timeline is tied to the close of the election.
And so that means ultimately that the election will be done earlier in the year?
Yes, it will be.
And so maybe it would give us more time to get to know some of the candidates and that sort of thing?
Yes.
Let's vote again, now that it's a
Yeah,
little more clear.
Okay, perfect.
You don't have to
Yeah.
count, just show hands.
But then how would I know if we made 50?
Well, if we're 50 people here, then everybody has to vote.
No, as long as there are 50 people here, we just need a majority of those people.
Thank you, Jeremy. All
Okay.
See, I wrote them.
right, by show of hands, who would vote to approve this bylaw change? And majority wins. Thank you.
Maybe I just missed it, this has already been done, but maybe dedicating a little bit of on-air time to I hear a lot of, don't forget to vote, but maybe having some of the candidates on and discussing why they're running, what their interests are. Just a little more airtime devoted to board elections, what they do, why people are running, is something I would find very helpful. I think KFAI does a great job in, for example, the mayor's race, KFAI I think had the best coverage of that election, and I think it'd be great to have that kind of coverage, just a little bit for the board.
I see a lot of board members' heads bobbing, so.
Great idea.
At this point, Alan, would you like to come forward and talk about the CAD?
Sure. Where I was going to do that. I can certainly, I'll wing it. I think we've talked about this a couple times in the past few years, for some of you that have been here before. The Community Advisory Board is structurally part of the oversight of the station. It's required for us to have a Community Advisory Board by the requirements placed on us by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. They require us to have a group that's independent of the board and staff, that gives a vehicle for the community at large to really weigh in on whether or not we're serving the community, whether or not the board and staff are really moving forward on the mission of the station. I think we can expand that to a broader task without, moving away from the origin of the organization, to really be used as a completing the feedback loop on here's what we think we ought to be doing, here's our plans, here's our actions. Now I want to hear back from the community, how is it going? Are we serving the right communities? Are we serving them well? Are we following through in delivery of our mission? So the CAB has been started and petered out multiple times, and Willie has gotten it going again. And we're going to actually comply with our required regular meetings in 2014. And it's a wonderful way to get involved in kind of the behind-the-scenes oversight and governance of the station, and it's a great forum for the community at large to weigh in on issues that are important to the community, in addition to what you can already do with the open board meetings. So it's a good way to get your foot in the door, more on the other side. Is there anything else you think I should mention, Willie?
No, that's great.
Okay, that's all I've got. So if you're interested, I'm the board liaison that kind of connects with it, but it is an independent body from the board. That's one of the important things about it. But Willie would be also very interested in talking to you about being a member of that if you're interested. That's it for me. Who's next?
Pam is out front, so she just wanted me to mention for volunteer recognition that KFAI really can't do all the wonderful work that we do without volunteers. And some of those volunteers are not the ones that you hear on the radio. They're the ones kind of behind the scenes, answering the phones and giving time. And so she just wanted to mention, if you look at your program, please look over the names of people that have volunteered more than 100 hours this last year of their time to KFAI. And we're a station run on our volunteers. You're the heart and soul of our organization, so we really couldn't do our work without you. And if you're interested in volunteering, please go see Pam at the front desk.
And of course, we need to recognize our listeners. So those of you who are listeners and supporters, please stand. That'll be first for everyone. Well, what I want you to do, we need to say thank you, and we really couldn't say thank you in the right way without your help. So if you would please raise your right hand, turn it backwards, and pat yourself on the back. Thank you for coming tonight. Any questions from anyone? Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
I'd just like to make a comment. I know that a lot of people probably don't care, but KFAI could have been on the air 5 years earlier if it hadn't been for Bill Clinton, president of Minnesota Public Radio. And I would said that man, I don't care if he's retired from here.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
I just have, we rely on Corporation for Public Broadcasting. What are the prospects for funding from the various sources? You can look into the crystal ball.
Okay, the question was, we do rely on the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Those are federal funds that flow to public radio and public television. We receive just over $100,000 annually from the CPB. And the question was, what prospects do we have for other major funding? Well, in addition to the fall and spring pledge drives, we're looking at the possibility of doing something in Valentine's Day that we tentatively are going to call We Love Our Auto Club. We think that the Auto Club membership is really the backbone of support for KFAI. We need to get more people who give to us on a regular basis, $10, $12, $15 per month, and that adds up, if you will, over time. And it's less paperwork and less effort for the board and staff to go out and get those due dollars. In addition to that, I'd like to identify other major donors in our community, some companies and corporations that might be amenable to supporting us, like our youth news initiative that we did a few summers ago, bringing in young people and teaching them about journalism. So we need to craft more programs like that that we can package and take to employers or to companies. So if you work for a company or a corporation that has a matching gift program or that might be interested in underwriting a program like Youth News Initiative, let us know, and we'll make a presentation to them. But that's the source that we want to find additional public dollars, but also private dollars. We also have a goal to do the 3 ways we get funding: annual sustaining, that's the pledge drive; a capital campaign, which we will plan to do within the next 3 to 5 years to spruce up and upgrade our studio; and then an endowment development campaign, like the bequest that you heard about tonight, which was really serendipitous. We really had nothing to do with it, but there may be other people in the community who know and love KFAI and would like to include us in their estate planning. We're going to be more proactive on that as we move forward. We'll be training staff and volunteers on how to go out and do that. How do we cultivate individuals, many of you in this room, who've been involved. You already love the station, you love the format, you're engaged, you're involved. You are likely donors, major donors. Not only after you expire, but now while you're living. I don't really see predatory, if you will, but if you love us now, you really will love us later. So that's what we're going to do in terms of other funding. Any other questions? Aaron. Dale, no fair bringing your own cheering squad. You know, we do have a very varied station, and that's one of the things I'm most proud of. Aaron is nonverbal, if you will, but is very engaged in our news department, in reading news, and I believe he's also board certified. I noticed during the pledge campaign that he was running a board during Democracy Now! when you think about programs like Sam, someone who's blind and very engaged in our program. You think about our gay and lesbian programs. You think about the variety that you see in KFAI that you see nowhere else in the market. So thank you again for supporting an important institution in our community. Any final questions? Okay, again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.